All right, I am all set. It is 1 minute after the hour. It is 57 degrees here on lovely, good old San Antonio, Texas. We have Monday with Martha with her guest, the Money Coach. I like that nickname, the Money Coach. That's not a nickname, that's her real name, right?
That's for real.
Man,
Yes,
man, I like to follow behind you, see if you drop any money.
sir.
Good morning. Good morning, Tony. We are
Good morning.
so
Good
happy
morning.
to have you this morning.
You
So
know I've been
happy.
looking forward to this.
And I read your bio and I said, usually I don't read bios, but I usually come off with, just authentically, but I just have to point out some stuff in your bio because
Oh,
this show is all about you. So I want to make sure that I add those components before we get started so people can understand that your background, your background and what you do is congruent. I
okay.
would say.
I just make some stuff up, right?
No, you didn't make no stuff up. You live in it. You live in it. And so I just want to introduce you guys and to Tony Jackson. He is from native of Muskegon, Michigan. He graduated Western Michigan University. He is a not just a licensed minister, but also ordained. He pastored, Crossroads Christian Center in Jacksonville, Michigan for 5 years. He's currently a ministry coach at Mount Carmel Baptist Church in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's amazing that you bring in financial literacy into the church. That is amazing. And so we'll talk more about that. But he also he's been an entrepreneur for over 25 years. He owned and operated Tony Jackson Agency. And so he's been in multiple leadership positions, still continue to be a leadership in his whole platform as well as his family. He has a God-given ability that he is using. I love it to break down the complexity of financial concepts and break it down so we can easily understand it. So that's awesome. Financial professional. He is well known as the real money coach. He is on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, all of these platforms, even a radio platform. One Praise 100.9 in Charlotte, North Carolina. He has a best-selling he's a best-selling author of a book called Increase, Protect, and Dominate Your Money. You want to check that out on Amazon. A book that you want to have in your library. One of the quotes that I read that he got from the Black Panther. I do like that. I know I paid attention to it. But it's a powerful quote for men, and it say a man who has not prepared his children for his own death has failed as a father. So I just want to welcome him today and I just want to open the floor up for you to talk to us about, more of who you are if I left out anything, but what do you do actually currently?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited about being on WSAN Radio, San Antonio, Texas. So I love it. Thank you for having me. Man, that pretty much sums it up. I always said, I've said this for years, I have a God to serve, a family to love, and a business to run in that order, in that order. And so that's what I do. I am a very, very big on financial education, financial literacy, particularly in communities, Black and Brown communities. And oftentimes that means that I work with the church, work with sororities, fraternities, any place that we gather. barber shop, beauty shop, wherever we are, that's where I want to be to kind of spread, financial literacy and financial education because we know that it's sorely missing in our country. And as people said that when America catches a cold, we catch pneumonia, right? And
Oh,
so
yeah.
things that
Amen.
happen in the rest of society have a greater impact on us because we've just been marginalized, through history. That's a whole nother conversation. But we can't continue to look in the past, man. We gotta see where we're at now, measure it, and move forward.
That is so true. That is so true. I know that he is one of my financial advisors, and 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 actually teaching me about uh, financial literacy as well. Opened my eyes to some things. He actually served me and my husband as well. So I thank you for that.
My man
That
Jesse, yes,
information.
sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, one of the things that I'm curious about, tell us about retirement tax planning.
Oh, excuse me. And see, that made me choke right there. Just even think about it, right?
Retirement.
Here's the thing. A lot of advisors, financial advisors, and whether they call themselves fiduciary or not, one of the things that they fail to talk about is the impact of taxes, especially in retirement. And to be quite honest with you, a lot of my clients, a lot of the senior ladies, the baby boomers, they may be widows now, that type of thing. One of the questions they always ask me is, why am I paying so much income tax in retirement? I thought that when I got to retirement that I'd be in a lower tax bracket. But we know there's a lot of things that we have write-offs, different things that we have when we're younger that when we get to retirement, that's not going to happen. And so what has taken place in our country is that we tell people this, hey, put this money away, 401k, TSP, these type of retirement accounts, because then you put it away now, you're going to save the taxes today, but we forget that second part. But when you take it out, you're going to be taxed. And the assumption is, Martha, that when we get to retirement, that when we take it out, we're going to be on a lower tax bracket. Now, I see two flaws in that. Number one, I don't want to be in a lower. I mean, I want my income to be pretty good in retirement too, right? I mean,
Right.
I don't want to have this dip. So first of all, I still want my income level to be high. But then when I put money aside, maybe I'm married, got kids, I'm really putting it away, deferring the taxes really at the lowest tax bracket possible. Married, filing joint, writing off the kids, writing off the mortgage on the interest on the mortgage and all these things. But then when I take it out, I'm taking it out at the highest tax bracket because now I might be single because maybe again widowed or divorced sometimes. Hopefully the home is paid off. The kids ain't a dependent no more, at least not for tax purposes, right? And so now I'm pulling that money out at the highest tax bracket possible when I can least afford it. And so
Wow.
what we want to do is get people to realize that, and then we have some tools that will allow them to, even if they're saved for years and they're at that point, is how can I offset, how can I mitigate some of these taxes that I'm going to pay in retirement, even if I'm already in retirement, and then even when that money gets passed on to the next generation, how do we do that? And so those are some of the things and strategies that we talk to people about. And even on our website, there's a tool there where people can go and click and put in their own information, and it'll tell them what that tax bill will look like, not just, you know, now, but, over their lifetime. And then even upon their transition. Because the one thing that Ben Franklin said is two things we got to do: die and pay taxes.
Yeah.
So let
And
me ask you a
so,
question. So let me make sure I got this correct. So I put my money in retirement,
mhm,
401k.
yeah.
I'm at the, but does the retirement age make a difference? It's because if I take it out I'm not supposed to take it out at a certain time.
Right.
It's what, 60 some years old?
59 and a half. 59 and a half.
59 and a half. I take it out at 59 and a half and I'm taxed at a higher bracket.
Well, you could be, right? You could be. So the whole thing about 59 and a half is when if we take money out before we're 59 and a half, you're going to pay ordinary income tax, plus you're going to pay a 10% penalty.
Right.
Now there's a couple of rules around that. I mean, we won't get into those, but there's a couple of rules around that. But what I'm saying is, like, if like with you and Jeffrey, you put money in a 401k right now, you're going to be able to deduct that on your taxes. You're not going to pay taxes on that money. Well, right now, you might be at a 12% tax bracket. So when you think about if you defer $10,000 at a 12% tax bracket, that means you're going to defer $1,200 in taxes, right? So fast forward 40 years, and now you're in retirement, and you might be at a 20% tax bracket. So now all that money that you've accumulated and the principal, you're now going to pull out at a 20% tax bracket. And so you're actually pulling money out at a higher tax bracket than what you were able to defer, and you were only deferring taxes on the principal, right?
Right.
That's the only part that you were saving. You didn't pay on any gain along the way, but on that 401k, what we call tax qualified plans, every every dime that you take out, there's going to be taxes on that.
Wow.
And the other part is when you now leave that to your kids, it used to be that we could do a thing they called stretch IRA, but that went away in January 2019. So now your kids, when they receive your tax qualified money, they have to almost immediately, it's 10 years, they have to report that money as income. And guess what they probably are? They're probably under 59 and a half.
Right.
So now you got penalty.
Penalties.
And then the thing about it is if they don't report it as income, there's a 50% penalty for not reporting it. So if you left them 100,000, they don't report it, that's a $50,000 tax bill.
Wow.
So are they going to report it? Oh yeah, right?
Yeah, because that's a lot.
So those are some of the things that we help people navigate through. It's okay.
Okay.
So the thing about it is many times we can't avoid the taxes, right? So, but what we can do is we can plan for them, and we can have other resources, other things in place to cover that tax bill so that your family still gets the generational wealth that you were intending for them to get.
So what would be your advice to a 25-year-old that's starting a career and they have a career path they going on, and their company offered them 401k.
Okay.
What would be your financial advice for them to move forward in the right direction for retirement?
Well, I think the two key questions is, does that company offer a match? Because if they offer a match, that's 100% return, right? So if I put in $100 a month, they're gonna match my $100 a month. Well, you gotta take advantage of that. And but anything above and beyond the match, I think there are other vehicles that one could consider that would put them in a better position down the road. Now, the one footnote to that is if you plan on staying with that company until you're vested. Because if you plan on leaving before you're vested, then you're not going to get that company match anyway, right? And so then that puts you in a different strategy. And then as we know, especially in today's environment, it's not like when my dad worked for the same employer for 38 years. You don't see that today.
You don't see that no more.
You don't see that today. So we change jobs, and every time you change jobs, you're starting over. And so sometimes it's better to do your own planning if that's going to be your situation.
Yeah, because I didn't. I'm 6 years. I'm up. I have a 6 year. I wrestle after six. After the fifth year, I'm like ready to walk out the door. No, I don't have a
Right.
retirement. Sit at one place for 30 some years. I don't have that kind of personality, right? So,
Right.
so if I would have had planning before, because after you leave, what do you do with that 401k? You got to put it somewhere.
You got to put it somewhere. And so what happens is that if we don't, number one is that we have even less control than even when we're working there, right? So when you work there, you don't have a whole lot of control over your 401k. Now, when you leave, how much control you think you're gonna have, right? You'll have
Right.
none. And so that's why it's a good idea to kind of I wouldn't leave my money behind, right?
Right.
It's like I'm not gonna break up with somebody and then let them hold my wallet. Right? You know, that doesn't make a
Right,
whole lot
right.
of
That's
sense.
exactly what you'll be doing, right?
That's exactly what you'll be doing. Like if you didn't like that company because
Mhm.
if you didn't like it and you left and went somewhere else, why would you leave your money behind?
Right,
Or if they didn't like you and told you to leave, why would you
right.
leave your money
Why would
behind?
you lay your money behind?
So it
Right.
makes sense to roll that money out into an IRA of your own that you control and then and start it to grow from there. So,
Okay. So it's best to do that.
oh,
And so
I
what's the
think absolutely.
benefits? What are the benefits of putting it in an IRA? I mean, I know most people know that, but some people really don't.
Yeah, well, first of all, if you do roll it over into an IRA, it's a qualified rollover, so you're not going to pay taxes on it.
Okay.
Versus people that say, "Hey, I'm mad you fired me. I want all my money. I want my whole 50,000 that you got." And then they get that check and it'd be about 30, right? Because of the taxes and all those type of things. So it's good to roll it over so that you don't lose it in taxes, right? So that's the first thing is roll it over. That's the biggest benefit is that you're not going to pay taxes when you do the rollover. And now you can make choices as it relates to that money because there are some instances where it makes sense maybe to take it out and pay taxes on it so that you can have it tax free later. So, but it just puts you more in control rather than leaving it behind. And if that company gets sold and all these type of things, it's just something you just want to be in control. And,
Right.
and
That's true.
that's what my book is about, right? Is increase, protect, and dominate your money. We have to start having dominion over our money and our finances and where we're going, rather than reacting. Right? We don't want to react to what's happening on Wall Street. Lord knows we're going into this political or in this political season, and are you going to react to who's in the White House? You're going to react to who's the Treasury Secretary, the IRS, and so we want to stop being reactive and be more in charge. And that's really what we want to do is just take charge of your finances, take charge of your retirement, take dominion over those things.
What made you go into this field?
Ooh, okay. Well, let me finance and accounting just kind of always been my thing. So when I always was a numbers person, right? So, you know, you might can beat me doing math, but you can't beat me figuring, right? I can calculate some stuff. So always been the numbers thing, always been.
Okay.
And then I took an accounting class as a sophomore in high school, and I like, hey, I like this stuff. And so then I took 2 more years while in high school and even took first year of college in high school. So accounting's always been my thing. And so then when I graduated at a time when the economy was down. I had these offers to work for state auditor general and all these things, and all those things didn't happen. And so I ended up working for an insurance company as an accounting supervisor, my first job out of college. And then I was supervising the compensation area, and I was looking at what some of these people that were in the financial services side was making and what I was making. I'm like, I'm on the wrong side of the table. So, um, but so I decided to change. But the thing that really sparked it for me wasn't just that, but when I was 27 years old, just out of college, my mother passed.
Yeah.
And when my mother passed, my mother had 6 life insurance policies, 6 of them, half a dozen. and we're sitting at Toombs Funeral Home. No lie, that was the name of the funeral home. Mr. Toombs was his name. I don't know if he changed his name to go with his business or what, but we're sitting at Mr. Toombs Funeral Home, and he comes in and he tells my family, my sisters, my dad, my uncle, that none of those policies was gonna pay. And we're like, what? And I made contact with my uncle. We're more like brothers. And I said, you know, and I told my dad, don't worry about that. We're gonna cover it. I was just out of college, right? Had a good job. Didn't have all them chilling, you know. I just, you know, I had a little, you know, that little money then, and so, and my dad looked up, tears in his eyes, and he told me this. He said, "You will not pay for your own mother's funeral." He said, "I will not let you pay for your own mother's funeral." He said, "I will mortgage my house before I let you pay for your own mother's funeral. That is my wife."
Wow.
And that stuck out to me. And I'm like, if my parents thought they had it all together, how many more families are out there like that? And that is the thing that gave me the passion for doing life insurance. And then my passion for financial literacy just came from the fact that I went to college on a academic scholarship, majored in accounting, and didn't learn nothing about finance.
What?
I learned about spreadsheets and income statements, but nothing about personal finance, right?
Wow.
And so I just know it's needed in our community. But those are the things I saw my dad work in a factory for 38 years, retire, and just living off of workers' comp and Social Security. You know, and I saw these type of things in our community over and over again, and I was fortunate. I was fortunate. My parents owned their home. My dad built his home. And all this, we lived out in the country, and because we lived out in the country and not in the hood, people thought we had money. And, and I really didn't want for anything. I mean, I tell it like this: is like we weren't rich, we weren't poor, we just never had no money, right?
Right.
So,
I
uh,
know what you mean.
right.
I never
um,
heard it put that way, but I like that.
yeah, and so I grew up and I saw that, and I was like, there's got to be a better way, and and so that's what kind of drove me to do it. And then all the mistakes that I made in my own journey because of not knowing, not ever being taught by money about money. So that's why I'm so passionate about it
Okay.
and wanting to see generational wealth. Um, and we can list all the reasons why and all of this, but the thing about it is at some point we got to stop. We got to say, listen, I'm going to make a change. What Gandhi said, you have to be the change that you want to see in the world. And I for years, even growing up, we didn't know much about Black history, but what I did know, and I was really followed and studied Martin Luther King and his message. And I believe the reason why he was assassinated wasn't because of civil rights, but he started preaching an economic message the night
Mm.
before he was killed. And we hear a lot of clips about that. I've been to the mountaintop. Well, if you read that sermon, society calls it a speech, but if you read that sermon, the 40 minutes before that last 5 minute clip that we hear, he was calling for a boycott of Wonder Bread. He was calling a boycott of a Coca-Cola. He was calling for us to take all our money out of the savings and loans and put it with black banks.
Oh,
He was
wow.
calling for us to buy insurance with black owned insurance companies. If you look at that message, that's the message that he had turned to, was a message of economic empowerment. Now, I believe, and now this is me, I believe those messages was the thing that ended up resulting in his assassination. Because they'll let us vote, they'll let us do some things, right?
Right.
Um, and we don't even take advantage of some of those. We don't realize the power we have with our vote, that type of thing. But when you start talking about money, it's a different conversation. And so, that's just my take on it. So,
Okay.
that's but I'm passionate about it, and
That's
I
awesome. I
believe
could
that
tell you are too.
yeah, and I love what I do. I mean, I love what I do. I love to see people get those breakthroughs, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, now, and we have a lot of miseducation that we have to undo. Miseducation of our people, mistrust, and we got some great reasons to um, not trust some things, right? We've been redlined, we've been taken advantage of, predatory lending, black white Wall Streets across the country, not just Tulsa, but across the country that were torn down, disassembled, and all these things. So we have some reasons to have distrust. So we have some financial trauma in our families and in our generations that we got to get past. But we gotta heal and move on, right?
Yes, yes. I have so many questions. Look, I don't know which one to tackle first. I'm like, Ron, you have anything before we move forward?
You know I do.
I know, that's what I said.
You
I
you
think
you know I
he
do.
had that double Dutch look. No, I'm
Well,
just kidding.
you touched the Black Wall Street. I was gonna bring that up about your opinion about how come we're not doing that today, and then in part two of that question is why blacks don't support other blacks when it comes down to business. That has been a downfall with our culture. They do not want to support us.
Well, it is a problem, and so for so long, I think we because we were shut out, right? Because we couldn't go to the lunch counter, because we couldn't go and buy where we wanted to when we wanted to. When desegregation happened, and now we begin to say, I can go to Woodworth counter, I can do these things. We felt like it was a privilege to be able to go do those things, and thus it hurt the economy, the black economy, right? And it was. I'm trying to be good, y'all, but it was it was. I could come out of the field and go to Master's house,
Right.
and it was subconscious. It wasn't intentional, but that hurt us because and I've gotten like some of the old green books. You ever heard of the green book?
Mm-hmm.
So I've gotten some of the old green books where black folks, here was a book that you could go to. So if I went to San Antonio, Texas, I knew where I could stay. I knew the black uh, bed and breakfast. We call them Airbnb now, right? But I knew where I could stay. I knew where I could eat. I knew where I could buy gas. And I had to, because I couldn't buy from others, I had to buy from us. And we lost that. And
Mm,
so, as much as we gained with desegregation, we also lost. Now, the other thing that we have to address is that we have a mentality that in order for me to be blessed, you got to be unblessed,
ooh,
right?
Mm.
So, but you don't have to be unblessed in order for me to be blessed, right?
that's true.
There is enough to go around.
Yeah.
And if we would learn how to churn dollars within our own community, we would be better off.
You know,
And
I'm
so,
I'm glad you said that because they did a survey. The black dollar stays in the black community not even 24 hours before it's
Right.
gone. Other Asians, they stay in that community for, I mean, months. It's always circulating in there. But for our community, it doesn't do that. And we're trying to change. I mean,
Right.
I see that we are. Martha is with the group that we have here in San Antonio, and we try to bring the black community together and business together. We are trying, but the more we try, there's always somebody out there, one of us always back there trying to knock us down. But
Right.
you, but we can't sit back and let them do that. We got to keep on pushing.
Right. And I think there's a responsibility on both sides of that too. So, because I think, every black restaurant don't need to be a hole in the wall. We
Right.
we need to bring up our businesses too, right? We need to bring them up to a standard that we expect. Now, sometimes the problem is that we will now if you take your clothes, if you take your shirt to a black cleaner and that cleaner mess your shirt up, you will say, I'm never going to another black cleaner in my life. Right?
Yep.
We will label every black cleaner based on that experience.
Right.
Which is
Now, if
wrong.
you take
Yeah.
your shirt to a Asian owned or a white owned cleaner and they mess up your shirt, you don't say I ain't never taking my shirt to another cleaner.
No, we just
We
don't go to
we
that
hold,
particular.
we sometimes hold our own people to a
Exactly.
higher standard than
Mm-hmm.
we're willing to hold other folks.
You better preach.
And some of this is that psychological chains and images of slavery too, right? Because we've believed that the white man's ice is colder. And so the fact that I might go there and have a bad experience, I'll chalk it up to a bad experience. But when it is a black owned business, we chalk it up to we've labeled the whole business and every business like it in a negative sense. And we have to
You know
stop.
what? That is, you have really said something that was so true and so powerful, actually, which actually leads me I want to talk about your university. I was so proud to see you open up a university. Tell us about that university.
So the Real Money Coach University, we call it TRMC University. What we want that university to be is an online platform. There's actually hundreds of information in there, tools in there that you can use, but we want it to be a resource where people can go and get information without the opinions, right? Because when you Google something, when you look at what people do, everybody's got opinion, everybody's got agenda, and so we want it to be really factual information where you can go and find out. And if I need to look at a calculator whether I should lease a car or buy a car, what my mortgage is going to be, just be able to have calculators and information that's available where you can go and use it as a resource. And the secret is this is the first step. This is the first step to really developing a financial AI tool similar to ChatGPT. But this is step one of that process where you go and you get information. Now ours we do a 30-day free trial. And so you can join the university, you can get your free wellness checkup. It's going to give you a checkup in 4 areas. It's going to give you a
Oh,
checkup
yeah.
in your money habits, your retirement planning, your overall financial planning, and then your insurance. And then you can take that and then say, okay, what do I need to build upon it? And so I'm really proud of the tool. I mean, we're still, working out a few of the kinks, when you release something, but, it's just a great tool where people can go where my prayer in the whole thing is that people will utilize it because it's one thing to have a tool. It's another thing to use. And that's why people always talk about this. It's like, knowledge is power. And I'm like, not quite. Knowledge is potential power. The use of that knowledge is where the power is. And so I'm hoping people will use it. Now we set the bar high, right, in terms of membership, $7.99 a month. Now, the reason why I joke about that is because we want to make it palatable for anybody that can use it. I mean, for $7.99, most people can afford to have that resource and there's a budgeting tool in it, that word budgeting, where you can set your budget. Also, there's an option that if you want monthly coaching from someone on my team, you can also get monthly coaching in terms of your journey. And then let's see where, if you take that test again, that free wellness check, where will you be 6 months from now, a year from now? And we understand that this whole thing is a journey, right? It's not a destination, it's a journey. And so, yeah, we're pretty proud of the TRMC University.
Yeah, because I actually tapped into it. I was like, oh my gosh. My score. No.
Well, and I tell people this, the reason we use score, because everyone relates to that. From elementary school, right? A, B, C,
Right.
D, we relate to the score. The score is not as important as it is the process, right? The answering the questions and what that does, to you in terms of your mental and psychological recognition that there's some things that I need to work on.
You are so right.
We believe in that phenomenon. Like, I have a silver car, silver Infiniti. When I found my car, I was like, man, I ain't seen one like this anywhere. It was you. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get this, right? I got that car. I drove it off a lot. Now I see them everywhere. Right? You know how it is. Like, I thought I was buying a one of a kind. Now I see them everywhere. Well, and even now, because of AI and technology, if you Google something today and then you get on your Facebook page, you'll start to see those ads pop up.
Yes.
Okay. So we want the same thing when it comes to finances. If I start looking at different things financially, if I start to Google, if I start to look at things, now all of a sudden, what pops up in my feed? I will start to get those things that I am seeking and looking for. They will be coming to me. And so that's really what we're hoping that will happen for people, is that as we pay more attention to our finances, we'll start to draw those things to ourselves. And so there's a biblical concept with all that and all this. If I lift it up, I'll draw them in. So if we start to look at things and now we start to draw that information to us.
Yeah, because when I did take it, you're right. I thought about it. I was like, oh my God, the question. It made me think about the question. It made me think about, oh my God, I need more information about this piece. Or, oh, wow, I didn't even think about that. It really gave me a chance to really process each question. But I like the accountability factor as well, where now you challenge me to put everything in that the goals that I want to meet so that we can follow them. I have to do that actually. So we can follow them and so I can be held accountable for where I'm going, which is helpful.
Right. And that's what the whole coaching piece is about. The whole coaching piece is about accountability. And that's what a coach does. I mean, you think about an NBA and NFL and all these, what do coaches do? They're strategists, obviously, but I mean, but what they do is they hold the player accountable, right? And that's what we need in terms of, sometimes we just need that accountability partner to say, have you got this done? Have you listed your debts so that you can get out of debt? What debt method are you going to use? Snowball, avalanche, what you going to do? Those type of things. So.
Yeah. So Brian, you got any more questions?
I love what he just said. The key word was accountability. That's the key, because a lot of people will do things and they don't even hold their own self accountable for it. Somebody else got to tell them you need to be accountable for it. We shouldn't have to have nobody else tell us you need to be accountable for this. You should know it on your own. But that's upbringing. I'm gonna throw that in there. That's upbringing.
Mm.
Nobody held you accountable when you were growing up, and you felt like you don't have to do it anywhere. And that's where this key word come out: entitlement.
Ooh, entitlement. That, 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 that's loaded right there.
I know, right?
Yeah, because there is an entitlement, and oftentimes we talk about millennials and all this and their entitlement. I mean, we created that entitlement, right? We created it, and for good reasons. Because again, when we came along, our parents wanted us to have better than they had,
Mm-hmm.
and we want our children to have better than what we had. And so sometimes we have set up them for this feeling of entitlement because we've provided so much for them, and they don't understand the struggle. And I think from a family standpoint, we need to have open and honest conversations with our children about what is going on financially. We don't need to send them out of the room when we talk about money. We need to have them in the room. And I was so impressed by one client one time. It's like I sat down with her and her husband. It was a tragic story, but I sat down with them, and she called her kids out of their bedroom and said, "Y'all gonna sit around this kitchen table while we go through this."
Wow. That's powerful.
Mm.
Very, very powerful. Yeah.
That is powerful. So you have a ministry as well where you teach financial literacy.
Yeah, I actually love it. I love being in the church, because in the church we have everything. Our community is represented in the church. Like, there's other parts of society. You live in this neighborhood or you live here, but if I could say, the church pulls everybody together, right? So when I go to a church, I know I'm going to, depending on the size of the church, I'm going to have 1 or 2 millionaires sitting there. And I'm going to have some people there that is robbing Peter to pay Paul. We're going to have every gamut of our, economically, the church is widely representative of our people. And so that's one of the reasons I love to be in the church teaching financial literacy, because the people who think they don't need it are there, and the people who know they need it but don't want to admit it are there, right? And so we can get that message to everyone. And the church is still that gathering place. I don't know any other place particularly in the Black community, where people gather on a weekly basis. That
That
we
is
can
true.
get them together and we can talk about it. And so, and then of course, just being a minister, obviously I'm comfortable in the church. And so I do a lot of traveling, where I will do workshops in different churches. Sometimes it's based on my book. Sometimes it's just based on just some financial literacy topics that that particular pastor wants me to hit. I've done some where we just did debt because he wants his congregation to be out of debt. I've done them where we've talked about, growing your money and dominating your money, all those type of things. So, if I could plot out my year, I would definitely every weekend or every other weekend be at some church doing a workshop. So I just love doing it. I love doing it.
So when you go to these churches, I know we talked about, I know you and I have talked about, I've been on your show before, and I know we talked about how finances impact mental health.
Yes.
Do you find that, how do you see it in the church when you mentoring, whether you mentoring or coaching or in the church, how do you see that impact?
Well, here's the thing when it comes to money and I guess as I see your mental health. To me, money is a great accelerator, right? Whatever you are, you put money on it, you're going to become more of that. Okay. So if you're a saver and I give you money, you're going to save more money. If you are a spender and you participate in retail therapy to make yourself feel good, you're going to buy more. Money becomes, if you are not an honest person when it comes to money, you get more money, it's not going to make you any more honest. So money is a great accelerator. And it also, when it comes to our mental health and our money, oftentimes makes depression worse.
Mm-hmm.
It also, we know that we hear that money is the number one cause of divorce. We know that there's a lot of things that money has an impact in. And you know, money's not our God, right?
Right.
But neither is oxygen, but we need it.
Right.
Right. And so so I don't know, I got on that tangent. I just got on the mental health piece because it just accelerates things. And
So true.
when you think about homelessness, and we think about some of those things that's going on, and sometimes we can be very critical, right? And a lot of people don't realize that, you know, we see people on the side of the road. You just had this conversation with my grandson the other day, and he's like, why are people homeless? Why don't they just go live with some of their family members? Like, they don't have any family members, you know, they don't know where to go. So, well, why don't they get a job? If they get a job, they can make some money, then they can get an apartment. And what we don't understand, and what it was a teaching moment, is that many times our homeless population, they don't have social security card, they don't have an ID, they don't have those basic things that they need to even get a job. And so we need to address some of those things of like, how do I get my ID? I mean, you think about it, if you have no form of ID,
Yeah.
you
You can't get nothing.
you can't get nothing. You don't know you don't have your birth certificate, your social security card,
And if you don't have an address,
no address, all these things. And so now you're taking a situation that's stressful. We don't know why they ended up on the street. And now the fact that they can't even get any aid. They can't even get any government aid because they don't have those things. And so it makes the situation worse.
that's so
And
true.
so I think it's important. It's just important that we address those things as a society, and some of them right at home too, right in our own backyards.
And I like how you said it is an accelerator. I like that, the context and what you put that in, because that is so true.
Right.
That is
And
so
what
true.
has to happen sometimes is we have to have something that comes along that disrupts us.
Mhm.
We have to have a disruption, right? And that's what the financial wellness check, the free financial wellness check, it can be a disruptor that makes me say, wait a minute. I've been doing status quo. I just been going along. But now I get these grades and it disrupts me, that now I can go into action and do something.
Right.
And that's the same thing about the retirement tax bill too. It's like, oh, I mean, and we have people, and like a lot of times people take that particular assessment and they might be sitting on $500 million in their 401k and they think everything is good. Well, Uncle Sam, he's loving you, right? And so, but until we do something to make them realize, hey, I need to take some action. And here's the thing, I don't know if you just picked up on it, that I love about what I do is I work with people with $1 million in their account, and I work with the person that don't have I almost said it like my mama said, but they don't have they don't have two nickels to rub together. And guess what? Everybody deserves an opportunity to improve their situation.
That's true. That
Regardless
is
of
so
their
true.
income, regardless of their gender, regardless of their ethnic group, regardless if they're Church of God in Christ or Baptist, it don't matter to me, right? We all need the opportunity to improve ourselves.
That's true. Any questions, Ron?
I am absorbing all this because some of the things I go through on a daily basis, running across people. Mr. Jackson is preaching it right now. It's nothing you haven't said. I haven't ran across with numerous people I run across on all walks of life. Matter of fact,
Yeah.
at church yesterday, there was somebody there talking about they lost their job, they don't know what to do, and they asked my opinion. Why they ask me? Because I would tell them like it is. I said, what were you doing? Okay, are you ready to do another change? Are you ready to be retooled? What do you want to do in life? Do you have a hobby that you like? You could turn to a business. I started spewing out things on him like that. He looked at me and said, I never thought about any of that. Never
Right.
thought about any of that. Because I told him, your hobby could be a job, could be your own business, something you like doing. Find something that you like, that you really want to do. I mean, go out and get a job right now to, support everything. But in the meantime, look at your future on what you want to do.
Well, and it's so important because and I changed it a little bit. We always talk about multiple streams of income,
Yeah.
and I prefer to say multiple rivers of income, right? I want multiple rivers of income, not just twinkling in, but because it's so important that, and I think we all have something of value that we can provide to to society, and and so I just believe that we all need a side hustle, legitimate business, a hobby, like you mentioned, something like that, where we can help people increase their income. Because the reality is we talk about some of the things that we are talking about, saving for retirement, getting out of debt. A lot of those things are going to take is going to take some extra cash, right? We can budget, we can find some things where we maybe can trim back on, but sometimes we just got to be honest with people. You need to make more money. So you need to turn that hobby you have into a business. My co-host, her tagline for her business is turn your passion into profit.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have her on the show next month.
She'll be great. Michelle will be great. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So how can people reach you for your
So,
services?
so the best thing is just to go to my website, go to therealmoneycoach.com. That's all spelled out, therealmoneycoach.com. There you can even schedule an appointment with me. Um, you can sign up and take your free financial wellness checkup. You can get an estimate of your retirement tax bill. You can order my book. You can order my book right there to increase, protect, and dominate your money. Now, you can do like Martha said and go to Amazon, pay $24.95 for it. Or you can just order it off of my website for $19.95. That's a 20%
Yeah, that
savings.
sounds like better. That
Yeah,
sounds like a
right.
better deal.
And if you order it through the website, I'll sign it before I send it to you, right? So,
Oh, nice.
and so, so that's the best way to get in contact with me. You can follow me on YouTube. It's at The Real Money Coach, Instagram, TikTok, all of that.
All the
So
platforms.
at the Real Money Coach. And I tell people I'm Googleable. You can just Google Tony Jackson, the Real Money Coach, and you can see what I'm all about.
That's what I did. I Googled you when Martha told me about you. And you popped up right there on top, number one.
That's because of great people like you having me on their shows and interviews and stuff. And so, I'm really to tell you guys, I really am enjoying what I do, enjoy helping people. And, I'm just blessed enough that what I do, I'm also able to make a living doing it. And it's a great position to be in when you do what you love to do, and the Lord uses that to help you live. And so that puts me I'm in a very powerful position when I meet with someone, because when I meet with someone, this is always my attitude, is that I don't need their business to survive, right? And so you ever run into like a salesperson and you just felt pushy. They just kept pushing. I don't have to do that with people, because I have enough faith to believe that I've never seen the righteous forsaken.
Amen.
Right? And I don't have to try to convince you to do something that's not good for you in order to benefit me. It goes back to that statement I made a little while ago, right? That you don't have to be unblessed in order for me to be blessed.
I like that. I like that.
Amen. I told y'all was gonna get some wisdom.
Hey, speaking about, Martha, I hate to say this, but I smell a part too. The reason
I
why
do too.
the
I
reason
smell a part two too.
the reason why I'm saying that, I'm a baby boomer.
Mm-hmm.
I have been
You're a
blessed.
baby boomer.
Yeah, I am
He
60.
like, huh?
I am 69 years old.
Okay. Because
And
I was like, baby boomers between 1946 and 1964.
yeah, that's
You
that.
can't be a baby boomer, but
Yeah. So the question I
looking
want to
good,
bring up,
brother.
thank you. I want to bring up with some of the baby boomers. I mess with them a lot on the show. I've been blessed to have two parents in my life, and I've been blessed with the wife I have that makes sure everything's taken care of. A year ago, we became debt free. We paid off the house, the car, and all that stuff and everything. And I look at some of these baby boomers right now that are still working because they didn't do things for the future. And they're still working right now to this day. At 70 years old, people are still working because they got to have that job.
Yeah.
What can we say to the baby boomers now? I don't want to use the word it's too late.
It's not too late.
But
It's never too
it's
late.
never too late. But I would like to have a show talking about the baby boomers because
Absolutely.
that
And then
that
I just grabbed this because you hit it on it, because the title of my book is Increase, Protect, and Dominate Your Money. Retire financially free, no debt, no taxes, no stress.
Mhm.
To be in your position, and kudos to you, to be debt free for a person going into retirement changes everything. It changes everything. Sometimes we think we got to have all this money, but if I can eliminate not have a mortgage payment, what does that do for cash flow?
Ooh.
I'm sorry, you guys. I got an emergency call that just popped up.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna let y'all continue.
All right.
All right.
Okay, Martha.
Blessings.
Thank you so much, Tony.
Absolutely.
All
Thank
right.
you. So yeah, man, I'm all for part two, man. You guys let me know when,
Oh,
where, and I'm
man.
here with.
Because the things you were saying, it resonated with me, and the people that I talk to, and I get on the baby boomer case all the time. I even pulled up the things that they could go to still sitting at the house withering themselves away. I make sure they have activities they could go to, and all of it's free. And that's the key word. Everything is free that I do the research on to let them know what's going on in San Antonio. You could take computer classes, Excel classes, acting. They got all this stuff free, but nobody tell nobody about it. And I'm sitting back here saying, you know what? I may go ahead and do an acting class, see if I can make me a little extra money doing a commercial or two.
Yeah, there you
You know?
go. And I'm gonna just put this out there, man. It would be pretty awesome to even have a baby boomer workshop. You
Yeah.
know, I come to San Antonio, we could put on a workshop for baby boomers.
Yeah.
You know,
Because
we can deal with the areas of health, financially, emotional health, all these things for particularly for that group.
yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I sure do appreciate it. Just these things just come to me as I'm sitting down here, thinking about,
Downloads.
yeah, everything you was saying. You was hitting some buttons for me. Okay. Then you answer that question before I even ask it. I said, okay, wait for something else to come up. But I appreciate you coming on. You opened up my eyes on a lot of things that we need to focus on, especially our culture. We need to focus on
Yep.
some of that in our youth. We need to get our youth involved in saving now and
Absolutely.
stuff. Because
Absolutely.
my son told me years ago, he said, "Dad, I'm gonna have a house for him 27." He got his house when he was 26 years old.
Yeah. Man, yeah, I'm so proud. I have four children, and the oldest three are all homeowners
Mm.
in their 20s. All
Yep.
of them in their 20s. All of them in their 20s. And my grandson was riding with me one day, and he said, "Granddaddy," he said, "so if you rent a house, when you move out, it's like you got to pay them money. But if you own a house and you move out, they got to pay you money." I said, "Yeah, he's 7 at the time."
See,
And I said, "Yeah, that's basically right, Cameron." He said, "Well, I'm never gonna rent then.
there you go.
I'll, I'll just stay with you." I said, "Well, wait a minute.
He figured that one out, didn't he?
I'll just stay with you until I buy a house, right?"
Oh
So,
boy.
but
No,
but
Grandpa
but
gonna help
the
you get
point
out.
is that's the mentality that we want. That's what we
Mm,
want to put in them, and so that is like, well, we're doing something right because he's hearing me listen, doing things like this, and so he's
yeah,
picking up on that stuff.
that's
And
good.
so, absolutely.
And that's one thing I want to do with the youth. I want to do a youth roundtable. Actually, I want to do kids.
Hmm.
Not even teens. I want to do kids because I want to hear what's going on in their mind on what they're doing.
Right,
Because
right.
kids are. I don't want to be too honest and get mom and dad in trouble. just like that one commercial. I don't know if you've seen it. It was years ago where this dad busted this kid for marijuana, and the dad said, "Where'd you get this from?" Yeah, he looked. This son looked at him and said, "From you, Dad." Now that hurts.
Right,
That
right,
hurts when you say for you
right.
because kids are watching what you're doing.
Well, man, I tell you, just as we talked about as a preacher, and I remember when I preached my first trial sermon, when I got done, her name was Sister Brown. She came up to me and she said, "You did a beautiful job, young man. You did wonderful." He said, "This is my advice to every new preacher, is that people rather see a sermon than hear one."
Mm,
And we've heard
mm,
it other ways, right? What
yeah.
you do speak so loudly, people can't hear what you
Can't
say.
say.
Yep.
My friend, you from Michigan, Joseph Lee from there. He always say you can speak so loud I can't hear a word you're saying.
Yep.
That's his interview show all the time. And he's from Michigan. You from Michigan too, right?
Yeah. Yep. Originally from Michigan. Yep.
And I'm there around the bend in Waukegan, Illinois.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So boy. All right, man. I appreciate you being on. I will reach
Man,
out.
thank you all for
I will
having me
reach
on the
out to
show
you.
again.
Yeah.
And anytime, man, I'll be more than honored to come back.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. And you keep on doing what you're doing. And we will get a hold of you probably within the next month.